Hey guys, welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your host, Jason Lee, joined by my co-host, Zeke Smith.
What's up, Jason?
Glad to have you today. And
Yes,
we
sir.
brought in a third Pretty Boy, the Port Region Pretty Boy episode, because it is Valentine's Day. And we thought, hey, what better to do than to get three guys, matching jackets, matchy outfits.
That's right.
To bring the heat.
That's right.
And so we have Mr. Brandon Kinsey from Kinsey Management join us today. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jason. Appreciate you having me, Zeke.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Glad
it.
to be here. And real quick, to kick things off, just a little bit about today's show. It's all about talent. And I think for most of our audience, all 13 of them, right, we know that several of those are folks that run businesses. And when you run business and you think about capital, you think about all the investments. We talk about workforce development. We talk about all the different investments in the region. Probably no bigger and better investment that you could ever put into your business than into talent.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today and kick that off. but before we dive in, let's get a little bit of background. Tell us a little bit about your story, your journey, how you got here, and then how Kinsey Management came to be.
I love it, man. I like how you roll going into that. It reminds me of I like Sean Ryan. I like listening to his podcast, and I like how he always kind of starts it getting to tell that story. So I appreciate that.
Sure.
It's a lot of fun for me because I'm proud of it. So it's kind of funny how we got to this point. It's not what I would call traditional, but once I kind of lay it out, it should make sense. So Lisa, my wife, is my business partner. We founded this together about 13 years ago. And it really kind of started from us just brainstorming some ideas. She was working for National Oil Varco. She was an executive in her late 20s. Mm-hmm. And she had been on the operations side of the business, but they were really forward thinking, back in the early 2000s. NOV was rolling and merging and acquiring, and they said, we're going to create this role, organizational development, but we want like an ops person. We need someone who understands the business. And so there was a couple of things that rolled up underneath her. She had global responsibilities, and HR was one of them. And one of the things that she would do is once they would merge and acquire, those people would go in and look at product, market, and her job was kind of going and look at people. Like, how do we get this organization and these people plugged into our culture, our core values, but not lose what makes them great, right? But also take away their headaches at the same time, which now we call that talent optimization. But that's what she was doing 20-something years ago. And I was a varsity football coach, and I'm over in Pearland, and I had some great people that I learned. And what's cool about coaching any sport, but this was football in particular, is it was you have a goal. Mm-hmm. And every year you get a new crop of people, and you got to figure out how to get the right people in the right seats, or in the right positions in that case, get them motivated, figure out what they can do well, and then go out and be efficient. And I learned from some really great coaches a lot about how to inspire people and motivate and really kind of go beyond the X's and O's, because what we believed, and I think it was really successful there and still is, you care about them. The rest of it takes care of itself.
Right.
It can't just, if you go in there and all you talk about is winning, and it has a win, and we don't care about the person, you leave a lot on the table. And so as we would go to clinics and hear people talk about leadership and people and how to make this happen, I'm listening to Lisa's stories, and I'm like, hey, this is something everybody needs. And we just really couldn't figure out how to monetize it until we just kind of jumped out, took on a few consulting clients, did it on the side. I was kind of the first out because, it was the easiest.
Right.
And coaxed her out. And I guess it's around 2015. And right there, we find out we're having a son. And we just finished building a new house. And we leave the safety and security of stock options and a check and great insurance plan and go out into entrepreneurship. And by the grace of God, we've made it here the last 13 years.
Well, you do something like that, you're going to get to know God real quick.
Brother, I'm going to tell you right now, I feel really blessed because of where I come from. And I feel like I've always had that voice. I've been led in the direction. I've been, I guess, just smart enough to not ignore it. Mm-hmm. And just been super blessed from whether it be meeting Lisa or, going to college and just all the past. I wouldn't change anything. And people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, yeah, you kind of took the detour coaching. No, it wasn't a detour. It was part of the story.
Amen. Yeah.
Nothing would have worked out the way it has had I not spent that time there. And I still have all those relationships.
Yeah.
I rely on them. It guides me. And the Lord's blessed us. It's just, it's really crazy, but I think it's because we've tried to do things for the right reasons.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, I mean, Brandon is like essentially the assistant mayor of Friendswood. Like if you go to Friendswood, having worked with him and Lisa for a long time and having done some work in Friendswood IST, if you want things done in Friendswood, you go get Mr.
This is the guy?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the evangelist for getting things done.
I love it.
Certainly bond work or anything like that.
Which
Go by
church are
man,
you
like,
guys at?
We make a big effort.
What church are you guys at then?
So we're parishioners at Mary Queen
Got it.
Catholic
Okay,
Church,
cool.
and
Awesome.
so it's been great. We're there a lot.
Cool. Yeah.
In fact, I only live 2 blocks away, so I don't have a lot of excuse.
yeah, there you go.
It's an awesome community down there.
It really
It's
is.
so cool.
We've been blessed. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
really
funny
is.
when we left Pearland. Lisa had some family on this side. My brother, my mom lived over there, and it's funny. We actually considered going back into Houston. I'm like, why are we getting further away from family with all these little kids? We need to be closer. And I'd never really thought about Friendswood, but that's actually where we met.
Right.
In fact, there's a Whataburger there that they just closed because they opened a brand new one, and that was where our first date was. I'm kind of telling on myself on a February Valentine's episode.
No, that's good. If you can take a girl on a first date to Whataburger and now you're still married after this many years, you got a good one.
I knew
right?
she was a Texas girl, so it's probably someone I could actually
That's
get
right,
along
yeah.
with. But
I was literally about to say that's maybe the most Texas thing that you can do.
yeah,
And then afterwards, stop into HEB.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. We should have done that.
Stroll the aisles together.
No,
you
it's
know?
great. I mean,
Yeah.
a friend of mine in high school asked his dad for some money to take his girl on a first date, and he gave him $5.
Uh-huh.
He's like, $5? I can't do that. He's like, take her to Taco Bell. If she don't like it, she's not the one for you anyway, right? Take her there. You got $5. Here you
That's
go. $5.
that's
right?
kind of what happened with us.
Right.
Yeah, I like to joke with people though. It was really the conversation, not the cheeseburger.
Yeah,
that got it done.
yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
But no, I think it's funny because our kids really laugh at the story. They love Whataburger now, and I'm like, well, it's just it's in your DNA.
That's right.
You know? So we
Quite
have a
literally,
good story
that's
for
right.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, on a serious note, not only is the community great, there's just so many good people down there. I think my time in education gives me a soft spot. My work on the Education Foundation, they do great things, and there's just some really great people down there. That town was founded on faith, family, and education. And if you live there, you're there for very long, you realize that it hasn't changed that much. It's grown, it's gotten bigger, it's not a sleepy town anymore.
Sure.
But it is, there's a lot of people, and it's those 3 things still hold true.
Yeah, we got to get the astronaut mayor back on here.
Oh
Mayor
man,
Mike.
he's the superstar.
He was awesome.
He was
Yeah.
awesome.
He was
Yeah.
a really good guest, easy to talk to for sure. For
Yeah,
elected
we're
officials.
proud of Mayor Mike.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna we could talk to. I mean, I could talk to Brandon for hours now. So, but we're gonna run out of time. So I want to dive in.
Yeah.
we're like on intro. So we're gonna pivot.
Our sponsor's going to cut our time here every time.
But we got to get to a that's what I'm saying. We got to get to a point where we
Our
can
producer,
actually
man,
let
is gonna
you-
get the
We
hook
want to
and
let you. Yeah, well, she will. We will get the hook.
Yeah.
Let's not
Um,
do that this early.
So let's dive into why we're here. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing and some of the pivot. And I think specific to talent, and I think this is a big one because there's this AI thing
Oh yeah.
going on. And I'll tell you right now, AI has changed my life, and we're using it. We've adopted it as an organization. It's enhancing our ability to be more effective, more efficient for our teams. It's not, inside of our firm, I can't see a world where it's replacing any of us because we're in the service industry, right?
Yeah.
We as people have to do that. But I think there's a lot of fear out there, people that don't know how to adapt to it and figure out how to use it or leverage
Right.
it for their organization. When you're thinking about AI and talent acquisition and how it all works together, talk to me a little bit about the AI world and then talent because you guys are so involved in that.
Sure. And I want to state before I answer, like, this was not rehearsed. So I feel like you've kind of looked at my notes already, which is outstanding.
Kind of our
because,
job. But
Yeah, man, very intuitive. But I think that was a great way to kind of pivot into this. And I would say you coined it up exactly the way we see it. I do think it's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think it's a matter of choice. It's necessity. If you're going to thrive here and
100%.
beyond, you've got to figure out what AI means to you. I see it as a collaborator, as a partner, and I'll get to that a little bit when I think about leadership and what AI do. I think it's going to be a big differentiator. There is a fear though, and I do think there is an inefficiency because I think there's a lot of leaders right there, regardless of industry, that are out there going, how do we best utilize this? What do I do? Maybe it's there's stakeholder pressure or market pressure, but maybe they don't know how to apply it or where to put it or how much to trust it. And so I think you're seeing a little bit of that unease and to play out in the market, but the faster you can get to something to latch onto, number one, I think you build some credibility. I think you get, companies are getting comfortable, and then they're figuring out a new rhythm. Here's where I'm at with, to put it in more simple terms. We see AI as, okay, if I'm going into it as an organization leader, if I'm going into it with how can I use it to replace, I think you're going about it the wrong angle. Is there some tasks that can be automated and streamlined? Absolutely. I mean, to say that's not going to happen wouldn't be true. That's why I think upskilling our workforce is critical important. However, I think the first and really the most practical entry point for any leadership, regardless of the industry or organization, would be, how can I use AI as a collaboration tool? Like, for instance, on a leadership team, AI actually should have a seat at that table. It helps us de-risk. It gets us to decisions faster. What I find a lot of leadership, executive level, but even middle management, we're overwhelmed with the operational side of the business. The data that we can present today in the world we live in, being so data driven, it can be overwhelming. And when it comes to people, let's talk about how complex they are. We could go on for hours, right? People are multifaceted. They're bringing their life with them to work. They're in this seat. There's a set of external pressures being put on them. But we can't control human behavior and reaction to all the stimulus that they're put under. And so, when you have finances, accounting and things, bound by math. Okay, a lot of data, but there's still some rules. Sure. Same thing with market forces and sales and other things that we're seeing AI start to creep into. But what are we doing with the human experience? And that's where I think it can be a real game changer to be able to help leaders de-risk the organization, look at, hey, we've got all this information, we have to make a decision. Use that AI as that extra person on the board or on the management team to run that information through, cross-check, look at the different scenarios, where are our risks, where are the gaps, help us get to a cleaner, better, less biased decision. And I think the more that's harnessed, that speeds that up, that becomes the leadership game changer.
Yeah, well, use case scenario for our firm, we have a lot of administrative people that help us execute our deliverables for our clients. And you would think, okay, well, we've got to be concerned about that administrative person, but there's so much personal stuff that goes into their ability to it's a human component because I'm dealing with human clients. And so I need humans to interact with that client. I have a client specifically who just loves my staff, right? I mean, so if I was to say, hey, we replace that person with AI, my clients would be like, no, that's not okay. I want to talk to that person.
Absolutely.
Because she helped me through this time when I needed to get this check or whatever, so there's something, I just remember it. And so when they came to my office, she's like, I need to see this person. And because she'd only communicated on email and they were like hugging in my firm. Now with AI though, the person gets to, now it's like we didn't replace that person, but instead of them having to ask me 13 questions to try to help solve the problem for the client, they just go to the notes from our previous meetings and go, what happened to this? What happened? Because I share the notes with them on AI.
And bam, right.
So we're that much better at executing for the client because in the past, I'd get this email and I'm running meetings all day. So I have to respond next day. And I was like, hey, did the client say this or do they need help with this and this and this? And I'm like, now we just go don't ask me, ask the note taker.
That's right.
That's just
absolutely
how cool. How much better are you at executing for your team?
Well, I think that's kind of the nexus, right? That's where that starting point should be is how can we get more aligned? Okay. How can we get better outcomes, more consistent outcomes? Yeah. And if you think about that, what is one of the things that workforces complain about a lot? inconsistent management, not treated like a person, not felt like they're heard and valued. Well, a lot of that really stems from inconsistent communication, lack thereof, misaligned communication. You hear different messages from different people, or you have that, this one person, I love them. They hear me, they listen, they're empathetic, I feel cared about. And then this other person isn't like that, right? So, but it doesn't necessarily mean they don't care. It's just a different kind of style.
Sure.
So if we can utilize AI to better understand what drives a person, be able to go back and search those notes up and go, oh, hey, I'm supposed to sit down with this person today, and they go about completing tasks like this, and they're in this job role. So if I, as a leader, and I always say the onus of engagement is back on the leader, right? It's our job to figure out what makes a person tick. That's what makes the job hard, right? Well, if I can put that at your fingertips, and I can share that amongst the team, so we all go back to those notes and go, hey, Brandon is like this. In these situations, he's going to thrive. In these situations, he's going to struggle. I instantly become a better leader.
Love it.
And so that's where I would say I don't look at AI. I don't simply look at it as a replacement.
Sure.
Because I think we're a long way away from AI being leadership. I don't think it has the empathy to the decision-making complexity. The human touch on another human can be really profound. But I do think they have a seat at the table and I'll use the word again, a collaborator. I always like to go ahead.
I was going to say that there's a concern about AI because the challenge is we as humans have to hold more accountability to engaging our employees.
Absolutely.
And creating an environment where the value of that human touch continues to separate themselves from AI. And what I mean by that is if you think about AI, there's a lot of people who would rather go to AI because they're not comfortable going to people anymore.
Absolutely.
So you have to make sure you're creating an environment where
It's your accountability crutch.
you don't want to have the accountability crutch of the AI. You still need the human components, right? I ask AI.
Absolutely agree.
But I still got 3 or 4 mentors that I go to run the ideas by. But if I get rid of those 3 mentors and their wisdom and their life experience and start replacing, so we just have to be careful because as leaders, because you're talking about this leadership. If I create a culture that's so AI, like so crappy, where people aren't comfortable coming to me, then they are going to go to the robot.
So Zeke can vouch for me on this because he's known me for a while, and this is how we came into relationship together. So we're predictive index partners. We've been PI partners here in Houston for a little over a decade, and it's funny. I want to say, 10 years ago, when you would go in and talk to people and try to say, hey, let's let this machine learning, and let me show you what it can do when we get these work styles in here. People would like the bristle, you could almost see people pushing back. We don't get that anymore. Everyone's leaning in and they're very interested. But here's one thing, and Zeke's actually heard it because he's heard us implement and been through one of these. But one of my favorite things to remind leaders is this is not red light, green light. Your life experiences, your relationships, your mentors, all the things that you've learned, the bumps you've taken on the head and the ones you've gone over in the road, they still matter.
100%.
So we have to take the data, get us to a decision faster, and then put that human touch on it with I've been here, I've done. It's almost like it has to go through the senses. I smell it, I see it, I can touch it. Now I can validate it.
Right.
And I can look around a corner. I can see through a wall so that I know when we make this decision and we walk out of this boardroom and we go to implement it and we go to communicate it with our people, we've already thought out what the potential risks are. And so I think it's a protection on the company, the shareholder. I think it's a protection on your engagement. How many times have we, I know it's happened. The plan looks real good. And you think it all looks great and you think you've collected all the right data and you go out and you take where the rubber meets the road and it falls apart and you lose a lot of credibility, you lose people, you lose engagement, you kill culture. This can help be preventative if you deploy it in the right way. And what I was going to say, I never like talking high level because it can get really platitude, right? There's a great book called The AI-Driven Leader by Jeff Woods.
Cool.
The premise of the book is almost in line with what we're talking about. His premise is, don't just look at it as a replacement. Look at it. That's where I get the word collaborator. talks even about how to use it as a de-risking tool, how to use it to inspire, which falls really close in line with what we do for a living when it comes to predictive index, either using to talent acquisition or talent management or team building or, engagement surveys and whatnot. But what I really loved about the book is when you get to the end, it gives you a lot of practical things. It gives a leader like little simple processes to take AI and weave into your decision making, to weave into your operational focus, so that you actually can start to take what you're using and get efficient with it. Yeah. It's a great book.
Well, to make sure we'll have Mandy tag that in the post too.
Yeah.
We like to share books and best practices.
It's a great book.
And you said
Do
earlier,
we have the technology to do that?
well, you said AI couldn't replace guys like us. Well, I'm actually, this is AI. I'm actually in Key West right now. So this is actually
it's a hologram.
Yeah.
Holograms.
I don't do this cold Houston stuff. I'm out of here. No, and you mentioned predictive index. So for the folks that may not know what that is or not be privy to that type of thing, can you just give a little background on what that is for? And I want to get into Kinsey Management and all the things you guys can do too as we tail into this thing. But
PI is a big part of that business. We hub a lot of solution around it. But so predictive index it's a human assessment. I like to call it a workplace psychology. It's a SaaS solution. It's platform based. It's been around for over 70 years. It has a really neat story of kind of started in the military, Army Air Force. The founder gets drafted on an all-drafted bomber squadron. They don't have any casualties, fly a crazy amount of sorties. Air Force transport is formed. We go into the atomic age, Cold War. They're training all these pilots, top of their class. They get them up. They don't tell them the little red button's not real, and they can't perform. And they said, wait a minute, there is something about pressure and human performance that we've missed. You can't teach it. What are we going to do here? They go back to his squadron. They do all kinds of assessment on them, and they figure out that, hey, there's a relationship between what I call patience, the ability for a person to either like repetitive task and know what's coming next, to people who can thrive in pressure situations. So it's like, do I get my best work under pressure, not knowing all the details, or do I do my best work when I have everything buttoned up in my environment with my little red stapler and everything's lined up? You need both types, right? I'm not advocating one over the other, but they figured this out. And so he was so like inspired by it, ends up starting the predictive index, and the rest is kind of history. So it's been validated over 350 times. I put my name on this business, and here's, I don't want this to be like a PI thing, but I'll tie this all together. When we went into this, my dad's an entrepreneur. One of the things he taught me is that your name and your word to people is really the only thing in this world that you have that you'll never lose. So you better not break it.
Right.
And the only way I knew coming out, starting something fresh, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was the smartest guy, but I was like, the only way that I know to build credibility is put my name on something and then not ever tarnish it.
Right.
And so that's why the name is on Kinsey Management. But then when we were looking for something to actually scale, because I realized, hey, being a consultant's kind of hard. I can't be in 20 places at once. I can only be at one. And, PI came along. They found Lisa. She's way more talented than me. And she had just come out of National OL. They found her on LinkedIn. She didn't care. Like at first she was like, oh my gosh, I've had so many of these vendors call on me when I was in OV. I don't want to be one. But my background when I was at A&M was social psychology. So I was very well aware of what PI was. And I was like, this is going to be great for us. She flew up there, loved it. And the reason why we went forward, because I could attach it to my name. It was validated. It had been around a long time. And their motto, and it still is to this day, is better work, better world. And the funny thing about it was Lisa and I saw so many people unhappy at work. You spend 80% of your life there. We do so much time away from family. We travel, we grind. Life's tough. And what we do for a living is not about taking all of that away. But what I always believed is if we got you in the right position and we coached you the right way, just think about where I came from. You can do great things. If you care about somebody, the outcomes take care of themselves. And this all just lined up, and PI felt natural and real. And again, it's just another example how something was put in front of me that I didn't know. I was just smart enough not to ignore it. So
Yeah. And as Brandon stated, I've used it, and Lisa certified me all the different ways that I can be certified in that. And
she did.
we have used it, like you mentioned this term collaborator and AI. So we're a hiring team. We put the PI stuff at the table too. It's not the decision maker. We are, but it's another piece of data, another important decision maker, collaborator at the table for looking to make a hiring decision, which can be super helpful. And as we wrap up, so Kinsey Management, you talked a little bit about all that you do and focus on. New member to the Economic Alliance, newish. First year, right? Still your rookie year, right?
Rookie year.
Yeah.
I think it'll be May.
Yep, that's great.
I have to give credit. David Tolson has really encouraged me to get here. He's great. I respect him a lot. And he's been totally right. Everybody I've met, it's been great. And I think the work is like, it's the kind of stuff that moves the needle. Like sitting in there listening to Chad talk about, like, for instance, that whole 146 corridor. And my brother and sister-in-law live right there close to it. They're Clear Lake City people, right? They're boaters and like, I know how big a deal that is. And so that first meeting, I hear that and I'm like, that's what we want to be a part of. Right. I want everybody to win. There's enough for everybody. Yep. I just tend to be a mindset of abundance guy.
If, one of our 13 or maybe 14, Lisa's going to listen to this one. So we got 14 listeners this time.
Definitely.
So maybe your kids too, maybe? If
maybe. I can get them in. I think I can.
My kids like to watch YouTube, and sometimes our show will come up. They're like, "Yeah, want to watch that?" And they're like, "No, next. We're going to watch Mr. Beast." Like, no, we're not doing that. So he's got a little bit more followers than us, Mr. Beast, but not many. We're gaining on him.
You're gaining.
How do any listener interested in it, even just touching base with you, because I think you're a great connector and networker yourself.
Thank you.
But if they're interested in your business, you, Lisa, how do they get a hold of you guys?
Probably the easiest way is just, on the internet, www.kinsey.com, management abbreviated. Yeah. Obviously you could actually probably come to Economic Alliance, so I'm a member, and you can get my contact there. And then I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you're pretty active on LinkedIn too.
Well, yeah, I try to be. Actually, and I have that in here. I have a lot of help. So a lot of what comes on my LinkedIn is I'm not that good at that marketing part. But yeah, I have a presence, and I think it's important. And more importantly, it's just a way for me to stay connected to people. You know what? I find LinkedIn not to be as cool as it used to be. Only because, saturated. Well, in the beginning, I think people wanted to connect and learn about each other and whatever. Yeah. And I think it's kind of been ruined because the overselling, and it's, and it becomes a little bit more of a nuisance. And I just really enjoy connecting with people and learning about them. And I'm a people person by nature, so it's easy for me.
Yep.
That's probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zeke.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. Thank you, buddy.
And then just to put a bow in it as we wrap up the show, anything that you want to leave the audience with as we wrap up? We talked a lot about AI adaptation, learned a lot about your business, but just one parting comment for the audience.
Parting comment, man. That stuff. So many things.
He's gonna say, "Don't call me, call Lisa."
And don't screw this one.
Yeah, for sure.
You got one parting comment.
One parting comment. Yeah, I think it would just be. I think I said it earlier. It would be just that. And I think a lot of leaders are growing in this regard, but I would still encourage them that people bring a lot of baggage with them to work, and they don't necessarily want to. It's just. I'll give you a quick story to illustrate. One of my clients. We assessed their sales team, and their lead salesperson didn't fit anything that we had defined as a job target. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, something's wrong. What's the deal? Should we look at changing?" And I'm like, "No, not being in an ideal fit that's not a disqualification. Is she doing a great job? She's number one, but we want to know why. We want to go find more people like her, or maybe we need to rethink." And I said, "Well, it starts with conversation, a discussion." So we start kind of peeling the layers to this onion back, and and I can't mention all the details and who this was, but come to find out, single mom, 3 kids. They give her a lot of flex time off so she can manage being a mom. And I basically said, "Yeah, it's a mama bear. She's taking care of the cubs. She's out here fighting and grinding. She's working outside of what comes natural to her and winning because she has to." Yeah. And I think sometimes we forget in life, and we don't do it on purpose, but we forget sometimes that people have a lot of things going on. So the better we can know them, understand them, put a little bit of empathy forward, I just think we get better outcomes. And that's not to say it's always going to be perfect and work. Decisions have to be made. I get it. We're realistic. We're in business. We run a P&L also. but I think we can pay a little bit of kindness forward and understanding. And once you do, sometimes we often get surprised.
That's right.
And that'd be my parting shot to a
Good
couple
job, man.
leader. Yeah.
On the fly, too.
So,
Look at
no, I mean, he had the choice, right? He was either going to be the stapler guy or the guy that's not the stapler guy.
There you go.
Or the guy that's not the stapler guy.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
right.
that.
That's
Look
right.
at you now.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No,
And you have a nice coat. So
well, I'm gonna tell you, I knew you and Zeke were gonna come first class. I had to
better
bring my
bring your
game
A
up.
game, buddy.
That's right.
All right, so
If
you
nothing
crushed
else.
it today,
Thank you,
Mr.
buddy.
Brandon Kinsey, again from Kinsey Management. Way to go! Great show.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you guys are feeling the love for
Yeah.
Valentine's
Hey,
Day.
and by the way, because I know her, happy Valentine's Day to Mrs. Kinsey. She's one of my favorites. She's awesome.
Yeah, that's
If
awesome.
if I want to give a parting shot, Brandon, he outkicked his coverage. Use a football analogy for you. So
Great
All right,
analogy.
yeah,
I use it all
yeah.
the time. One last thing I want to say, and I'd be heartbroken if I didn't. I want to give a lot of thanks to the Lord. He's the
Yeah.
one that's put me here.
Mhm.
I cannot leave the show without saying that because it's not me. I'm just listening. And then the other thing is I want to thank Lisa. She is very talented. And Zeke, you were being serious. It seemed like a joke, but the apple was very close to the tree. And then we talked about LinkedIn and my website and stuff. I got to say thank you to Carrie Infante of Infante Marketing Solutions, former Perry executive, Perry Holmes.
Yeah.
She's been great. I can't take any credit. That's Carrie's leadership, and she helps tell our story, and I'm super grateful.
Well, and we appreciate you, appreciate the show, and
Yeah.
want to say we appreciate our audience. And so
Yeah.
hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, we would ask you if you hear somebody who would benefit from it, or you know somebody who would benefit from it, pay it forward and share the episode with them. And then at the same time, if there are anybody that you want to have come on the show, somebody that you think would be a great guest, reach out to Zeke Smith, Jason Lee on LinkedIn. Let us know. We'd love to hear your topics, your ideas, your thoughts, and then perhaps get some introductions to the folks that that you think would be great to help share the story of this awesome region, awesome city that we live in, and a fantastic organization of the Economic Alliance. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.